everyone, Shimmer here, and I am finally able to release the details of the new Necromancer class skills, their morphs, and the passives. I do need to mention that these were the exact skills as of the Elsweyr playtest I attended at ZeniMax headquarters in early March, but these skills could change before live. There will be time links to the skills below should you want to skip over some parts, and I will talk about how the class felt at the end, but without further ado, let's get to it. The Necromancer class was such amazing fun, and there are 3 trees, a tanking tree called Bone Tyrant, a DPS tree called Gravelord, and a healing tree called Living Death. I do need to mention it is made very clear on every ability that is considered a criminal act that there is apparent red verbiage on those skills and says criminal act. That means activating these abilities with this tooltip around Justice NPCs will rack up a bounty. While our testing group was fighting one of the world dragons, we didn't notice we were fighting near Justice NPCs. When I ported back to Rimmon, I was kill on sight to the guards, and I was like, what the F? Why do I have a bounty? And then I learned I had been fighting near some Justice NPCs. So this is something you need to be aware of when starting this class. You will notice some of the abilities will create a corpse and some that spend them. Some abilities cannot be used without a corpse, so you will first either have to kill an enemy to use it, or use an ability that creates a corpse to use it. You will also see some abilities that are usable without corpses, but are made more powerful should there be a corpse present. Unfortunately, I cannot show you the skills. I can only give you what they are, as the pictures they allowed us to take of the skills are for reference only, and they did not want us making those specific pictures public. Starting out with Gravelord, the DPS tree, the ultimate ability is called Frozen Colossus. This ability is considered a criminal act. Cast time is instant, target ground, range 28 meters, radius 8 meters, duration 2 seconds, cost 150 ult. Unleash a frost-bitten flesh Colossus to pulverize enemies in the area. The Colossus smashes the ground 3 times, dealing 50-64 frost damage with each smash. Each smash applies major vulnerability to any enemy hit for 3 seconds, increasing their damage taken by 17%. This is unlocked at Gravelord rank 12. The morphs are Pestilent Colossus, which is unleash a pestilent flesh Colossus to pulverize enemies in the area. The Colossus smashes the ground 3 times, dealing 46-35, 54-08, and 61-80 disease damage with the first, second, and third smash. Each smash applies major vulnerability to any enemy hit for 3 seconds, increasing their damage taken by 30%. The second morph is Glacial Colossus. Unleash a frostbitten flesh Colossus to pulverize the enemies in the area. The Colossus smashes the ground 3 times, dealing 46-35 damage with each smash. The final smash stuns all enemies hit for 3 seconds. Each smash applies major vulnerability to any enemy hit for 3 seconds, increasing their damage taken by 30%. The first active ability for the Gravelord tree is Flame Skull. This ability and its morphs are not considered a criminal act. Cast time is instant, target enemy, range 28 meters, cost 2700 magicka. Lob an explosive skull at an enemy, dealing 30-39 flame damage. Every third cast of this ability deals 20% increased damage. The first morph is Venom Skull, and changes it to a stamina ability at a cost of 2295 stamina. Lob an explosive skull at an enemy, dealing 21-23 poison damage. Every third cast of this ability deals 20% increased damage. While slotted, casting any Necromancer ability while you are in combat will count towards the third cast. The second morph is Ricochet Skull. This is a magicka ability with a cost of 2700. Lob an explosive skull at an enemy, dealing 26-92 flame damage. Every third cast of this ability deals 20% increased damage and will bounce up to 2 times to nearby enemies. The next active ability is called Blastbones. This is considered a criminal act. The cast time is instant, target enemy, range 28 meters, radius is 6 meters, and the cost is 2700 magicka. Summon a flaming skeleton from the ground after 2.5 seconds. The skeleton runs after the target and explodes when it gets close to them, dealing 5020 flame damage to all enemies nearby. Creates a corpse upon death. The first morph is Blighted Blastbones. This changes it to a stamina ability at a cost of 22.95. Summon a decaying skeleton from the ground, and after 2.5 seconds, the skeleton runs after the target and explodes when it gets close to them, dealing 3,834 disease damage to all enemies nearby and applying Major Defile to them for 5 seconds, reducing their healing received and health recovery by 30%. Creates a corpse upon death. The second morph is Stalking Blastbones. This is a magicka ability at a cost of 2700. Summon a flaming skeleton from the ground. After 2.5 seconds, the skeleton runs after the target and explodes when it gets close to them, dealing 5021 flame damage to all enemies nearby. Every second the skeleton spends chasing its target increases the damage of the explosion by 10%, up to a maximum of 70% more damage. Creates a corpse upon death. The next active ability is Boneyard. This is not considered a criminal activity. Cast time is instant, target is ground, range is 28 meters, radius is 6 meters, duration is 10 seconds, and the cost is 3510 magicka. This ability and all its morphs will remain a magicka ability with the same cost. Desecrate the ground at the target location, dealing 8481 frost damage over 10 seconds. Consumes a corpse on cast to deal 20% more damage. An ally standing in the graveyard can activate the Grave Robber synergy, dealing 4487 frost damage to enemies in the area and healing you for the damage done. The first morph is Unnerving Boneyard. This adds the application of Major Breach and Fracture to enemies within the Boneyard, reducing their spell and physical resistance by 5280. The next morph is Avid Boneyard. This is the same as the base ability, but adds the ability for you to use your own synergy. The next active ability is Skeletal Mage. This is considered a criminal act. Cast time is instant, target is self, duration is 16 seconds, and the cost is 2700 magicka. Unearth a Skeletal Mage from the dirt to fight by your side for 16 seconds. The mage attacks the closest enemy every 2 seconds, dealing 925 shock damage. Creates a corpse upon death. The first morph is Skeletal Archer. This changes it to a stamina ability at a cost of 2700. Unearth a Skeletal Archer from the dirt to fight by your side for 16 seconds. The archer attacks the closest enemy every 2 seconds, dealing 707 physical damage. Each time the archer deals damage, its next attack will do 10% more damage than the previous attack. Creates a corpse upon death. The next morph is Exploding Mage. This is a magicka ability at a cost of 2700. Unearth a Skeletal Mage from the dirt to fight by your side for 16 seconds. The mage attacks the closest enemy every 2 seconds, dealing 926 shock damage. If the mage lasts its full duration, it explodes, dealing 1495 shock damage to enemies around it. Creates a corpse upon death. The last active ability for this tree is Shocking Siphon. This is not considered a criminal act. Cast time is instant, range is 28 meters, and the cost is 3240 magicka. Violently drain the last spark of life from a corpse, dealing 11,088 shock damage over 12 seconds to all enemies around the corpse and between you and the corpse. The first morph is Detonating Siphon. This changes it to a stamina ability at a cost of 3240. Violently drain the last spark of life from a corpse, dealing 8,448 disease damage over 12 seconds to all enemies around the corpse and between you and the corpses. If the Siphon lasts its full duration, it causes the corpse to explode, dealing an additional 1,712 disease damage to all enemies around the corpse. The last morph is Mystic Siphon. This is a magicka ability at a cost of 3240. Violently drain the last spark of life from a corpse, dealing 11,088 shock damage over 12 seconds to all enemies around the corpse and between you and the corpse. Also restore 2,880 magicka over 12 seconds while siphoning the corpse. Next, let's go over the Grave Lord passive abilities. The first is called Reusable Parts. When an enemy dies within 2 seconds of being damaged by one of your Necromancer abilities, your next Blastbones, Skeletal Mage, or Spirit Mender cast is free. This is unlocked at Grave Lord rank 8. The second passive ability is Death Knell. Increases your critical strike chance against enemies under 25% health by 5% for each Grave Lord ability slotted. This is unlocked at Grave Lord rank 14. The next passive ability is Dismember. While a Grave Lord ability is active, your spell and physical penetration is increased by 750. This is unlocked at Grave Lord rank 22. The next one is Rapid Rot, increases your damage done with damage over time effects by 5%. This is unlocked at Grave Lord rank 39. Now let's take a look at the Bone Tyrant tree. The ultimate ability is Bone Goliath Transformation. This is considered a criminal act. Cast time is instant, target is self, duration is 20 seconds, and the cost is 300 ultimate. Become a horrific Bone Goliath, increasing your max health by 30,000 for 20 seconds and immediately restoring 30,000 health. While transformed, your light attacks restore 2640 health, and your fully charged heavy attacks restore 5280 health. Your first morph option is called Pummeling Goliath. This has a new effect of an AoE bash attack. While transformed, your bash attacks can hit multiple targets in front of you and deal 2002 physical damage. Your next morph option, Ravenous Goliath, instead of the AoE bash attack, you will gain an aura that drains nearby enemies of their health. While transformed, you deal 5% of your max health and damage to nearby enemies every second and heal for that amount. Your first active ability is Death Scythe. This is not considered a criminal act. Cast time is instant, target is cone, radius is 7 meters, and the cost is 2970 magicka. Slice into your enemy's life force, dealing 2317 magic damage. You heal for 25% of your maximum health for the first enemy hit, and an additional 3% of your maximum health for each additional enemy hit up to 5 additional enemies. Your first morph option is Ruinous Scythe, and this changes to a stamina ability at a cost of 2524. Slice into your enemy's life force, dealing 1769 physical damage. Enemies damaged by you receive 2000 heal absorption for 2 seconds, negating healing they receive. You heal for 25% of your maximum health for the first enemy hit, and an additional 3% of your maximum health for each additional enemy hit, up to 5 additional enemies. The second morph option is Swift Scythe. This is a magicka ability at a cost of 2970. Slice into your enemy's life force, dealing 2317 magic damage. You heal for 25% of your maximum health for the first enemy hit, and an additional 3% of your maximum health for each additional enemy hit, up to 5 additional enemies. After dealing damage, you will heal for an additional 10% of your maximum health over 5 seconds. The next active ability is called Bone Armor. This is not considered a criminal act. Cast time is instant, target is self, duration is 18 seconds, and the cost is 4050 magicka. Wrap yourself in hardened bone, granting you major resolve and major ward, increasing your physical resistance and spell resistance by 5280 for 18 seconds. Creates a corpse when this effect completes. The first morph option is Beckoning Armor. This remains a magicka ability at a cost of 40/50. Wrap yourself in hardened bone, granting yourself major resolve and major ward, increasing your physical and spell resistance by 50/80 for 18 seconds. While active, enemies that strike you with ranged attacks will be pulled towards you once every 3 seconds. Creates a corpse when this effect completes. The second morph option is Summoner's Armor. This also remains a magicka ability at a cost of 40/50. Wrap yourself in hardened bone, granting your major resolve and major ward, increasing your physical and spell resistance by 50/80 for 18 seconds. While active, reduce the cost of Skeletal Bomber, Skeletal Mage, and Skeletal Mender by 12%. Grants a corpse when the effect completes. Your next active ability is Bitter Harvest. This is not considered a criminal act. Cast time is instant, target is area, and the radius is 12 meters. Sap the lingering life from fresh corpses, healing you for 2970 health and an additional 75% health per additional corpse. The first morph option is Deaden Pain and adds the effect of gaining major protection. Each corpse you consume grants you major protection for 1 second, reducing the damage you take by 30%. The next morph option is Necrotic Potency, and instead of gaining major protection, you will gain ultimate per corpse. Each corpse you consume gives you 5 ultimate. Your next active ability is Bone Totem. This is not considered a criminal act. Cast time is instant, target is area, radius is 6 meters, duration is 8 seconds, and the cost is 4,050 magicka. Place a totem of bone at your feet that gives minor protection to you and your allies for 8 seconds, reducing your damage taken by 8%. After 2 seconds, the totem instills fears enemies, holding them in place for 4 seconds. The first morph option is Remote Totem and has the new effect that the totem can be summoned up to 28 meters away. It becomes a target ground, range 28 meters, and the cost remains 4,050 magicka. The second morph option is Agony Totem. This is also 4,050 magicka cost, and instead of getting the effect that you can summon at 28 meters away, you will have the new effect that allies can activate a synergy to damage and apply minor vulnerability to enemies. Allies can activate Pure Agony, causing enemies to take 2,802 magic damage over 5 seconds and applying minor vulnerability to them for the duration, increasing their damage taken by 8%. Your last active ability is Grave Grasp. This is not considered a criminal act. Cast time is instant, target is area. Area is 18 by 5 meters, duration is 1 second, and the cost is 3,780 magicka. Summon 3 patches of skeletal claws from the ground in front of you, snaring your enemies by 50% for 5 seconds and inflicting minor maim for 5 seconds, reducing their damage done by 15%. Your first morph option is Ghostly Embrace. It has the same magicka cost and has the new effect that it can immobilize targets. Each patch can immobilize one enemy for 3.1 seconds. Your second morph option is Empowering Grasp. Has the same magicka cost, and instead of getting the immobilization effect, you will gain the effect that empowers allies and strengthens your summons. Hitting you or your allies grants them Empower for 5 seconds, increasing the effect of their next light attack by 40%. Hitting your Skeletal Mage or Spirit Mender enhances them for 5 seconds, increasing their effectiveness by 40%. Now let's take a look at the Bone Tyrant passive abilities, the first of which is Death Gleaning. With a Bone Tyrant ability slotted, whenever an enemy you are in combat with dies within 28 meters of you, restore 50 magicka and stamina. This effect can occur once every 2 seconds. This is unlocked at Bone Tyrant rank 8. The second passive ability is Disdain Harm. Reduce the damage you take from damage over time abilities by 2% while you have a Bone Tyrant ability active. Unlocked at Bone Tyrant rank 14. The third passive is Health Avarice. Increase your healing received by 1% for each Bone Tyrant ability slotted. This is unlocked at Bone Tyrant rank 22. The last passive ability is Last Gasp. Increase your max health by 1393. This is unlocked at Bone Tyrant rank 39. Next, moving on to the healing tree, Living Death. Your ultimate ability is Reanimate. This is not considered a criminal act. Cast time is instant, target is ground, range is 28 meters, radius is 12 meters, and the cost is 200 ultimate. Bring your allies back from the brink of death, resurrecting up to 3 allies at the target location. Your first morph option is Renewing Animation. This has a new effect that you restore stamina and magicka for each ally you resurrect. You restore 5,000 magicka and stamina for each ally that you resurrect. Your second morph option is Animate Blastbones. Instead of restoring magicka and stamina effect, you gain the effect that you consume other corpses in the area and summon Blastbones. You consume up to 3 other corpses in the area and summon a Blastbones for each corpse consumed. Your first active ability is Render Flesh. This is not considered a criminal act. Cast time is instant, target is area. Area is 28 by 12 meters, and the cost is 4320 magicka. Sacrifice your own power to repair damaged flesh, healing you or an ally in front of you for 4635 health, but applying Minor Defile to yourself for 4 seconds, reducing your healing received and health recovery by 15%. Your first morph option is Resistant Flesh. This remains a magicka ability and the same cost, and you gain the effect that you grant resistances to target equal to half the amount healed. You grant the target spell and physical resistance equal to half the amount healed for 3 seconds. Your second morph option is Blood Sacrifice. Instead of granting resistance to the target equal to half the amount healed, you will have the new effect that it consumes a corpse to heal a second target. Consume a corpse near you when you cast to heal a second target. The next active ability is Expunge. This is not considered a criminal act. Cast time is instant, target is self. Embrace the power of death, removing up to 3 negative effects from yourself and restoring 30/90 magicka or stamina over 5 seconds, whichever maximum is higher. Your first morph option is Expunge and Vivify, and adds the effect that it will also restore a smaller amount of your opposite resource. You also restore 1020 magicka or stamina over 5 seconds, whichever maximum is lower. Your second morph option is Expunge and Modify, and instead of gaining the smaller amount of your opposite resource, you will add the effect that you will restore more resources for each negative effect removed. You restore 10% more resources for each negative effect that you remove. Your next active ability is Life Amid Death. This is not considered a criminal act. Cast time is instant, target is ground, range is 28 meters, radius is 8 meters, and the cost is 3510 magicka. Release residual fragments of fallen souls at the target location, healing you and your allies for 3089 health. Consumes a corpse on cast to continue to heal you and your allies in the area for 2985 health over 5 seconds. Your first morph option is Renewing Undeath, and this adds the effect that consuming a corpse also removes negative effects. Consuming a corpse on cast to immediately remove up to 3 negative effects and continue to heal you and your allies in the area for 2985 health over 5 seconds. The next morph is Enduring Undeath. This, instead of giving you the consume a corpse also removes negative effects, you will gain the effect that you can consume multiple corpses to increase the duration of the heal over time. Consumes a corpse on cast to continue to heal you and your allies in the area for 2985 health over 5 seconds. You can consume up to 5 additional corpses on cast, with each corpse extending the duration of the heal over time by 5 seconds. The next active ability is Spirit Mender. This is considered a criminal act. Cast time is instant, target is self, duration is 16 seconds, and the cost is 2700 magicka. Conjure a ghostly spirit to do your bidding and stay by your side for 16 seconds. The spirit heals you or the lowest health ally around you every 2 seconds, restoring 925 health. Creates a corpse upon death. The first morph option is Spirit Guardian. This adds the effect that some of the damage you take is transferred to the spirit instead. While active, 10% of the damage you take is transferred to the spirit instead. The second morph option is Intensive Mender, and instead of transferring damage you take to the spirit, you will gain the effect that the spirit heals for 3 times the amount, but it lasts half as long. Conjure a ghostly spirit to do your bidding and stay by your side for 8 seconds. This spirit heals you or the lowest health ally around you every 2 seconds, restoring 2692 health. Creates a corpse upon death. The last active ability is Restoring Tether. This is not considered a criminal act. Cast time is instant, range is 28 meters, and the cost is 3240 magicka. Siphon the last remnants of life from a corpse, healing you for 11,088 health over 12 seconds to yourself and all allies between you and the corpse. Your first morph option is Braided Tether and adds the effect that it also heals allies in the radius around you. Siphon the last remnants of life from a corpse, healing you for 11,088 health over 12 seconds to yourself, all allies around you, and all allies between you and the corpse. The second morph option is Mortal Coil. This adds the effect that you restore stamina while siphoning the corpse. You will also restore 2880 stamina over 12 seconds while siphoning the corpse. Now let's take a look at the Living Death passive abilities, the first of which is Curative Curse. While you have a negative effect on you, your healing done is increased by 4%. This is unlocked at Living Death, rank 8. The next passive is Near Death Experience. While you have a Living Death ability slotted, your critical strike chance with all healing abilities is increased by up to 10% in proportion to the severity of the target's wounds. This is unlocked at Living Death, rank 14. The next passive is Corpse Consumption. When you use an ability on a corpse, you generate 5 ultimate. This effect can occur once every 16 seconds. This is unlocked at Living Death, rank 22. The next passive is Undead Confederate. When you have a Necromancer summon active, your magicka and stamina recovery is increased by 150. This is unlocked at Living Death, rank 39. Now let's talk about how the class felt. It was insanely fun to play and a little overpowered for the moment, of course, but there is some balancing to do during its testing phase. And we just tested it after the class reps had their go at it, and changes were made from that round. The ultimates were just freaking amazing. The Reanimate ultimate, which is a combat mass resurrection, is just fantastic. We ran the new trial Sunspire, and there were 3 people left alive who had that ultimate, and they popped them off and got nearly all of us up at an instant. The only issue I had with this ultimate was the fact that for 5 years we have been conditioned to say I'm down and then wait for a res and then press E to accept the res. When you're rezzed with the Necromancer ultimate, it is just poof, you're up and alive. And not only me, but everyone found themselves on several occasions just standing there and thinking, I need a res, but we didn't realize that we were actually standing there and rezzed. And it was a little difficult to get used to. The Death Scythe, where you deal damage and heal, will be a definite on anyone's bar. The Bone Goliath transformation ultimate is also just insane. You become this massive creature that basically cannot be killed, and when we did Battlegrounds and you see like 5 of these guys running around, it was just sheer chaos, but it was super fun. The Beckoning Armor morph was all kinds of fun because it pulls ranged enemies to you. In PvP, this was both helpful and daunting because if you had someone running away from you, it would pull them back every 3 seconds. But if you were running away from someone that had it, it would pull you back to them. There were also some insane parse numbers during our test, which again are likely to change before live because they were just so drastically high, but the class is just pure fun. I wasn't a huge fan of the healing tree, but I only had 2 days to play with it, and it was difficult for me to get a grasp on all 3 trees in that time, while they also had us testing other areas of the expansion. I do believe, though, I'm absolutely making one, and playing it pretty hard when it goes live just for that mass res. I'll say again, it was difficult to remember before heading back to town that I had some skills that were considered criminal acts that I had set off in front of Justice NPCs. You can get killed by guards if your bounty is high enough, so you'll have to be wary of what skills are criminal acts and prepare accordingly. And that's it for now, guys. I'm going to have a few other videos out today for Elsweyr, so be sure to check them out. I'll list them here in the upper right-hand corner and on the end screen here. But thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and sub, and click that bell icon to be notified when I have new videos go live. Have a great day, and I'll see you in Tamriel. Bye!